Okay, I think I'm live. Let me check. Yep, I'm live. Okay, this is really awkward. But I am live on Facebook and YouTube. So the Purpletuity Project now has a YouTube channel. Um, let's see. So, of course, today is Monday, May 3rd, and it is the first Monday of Lupus Awareness Month. And I am just testing this live at 5 experiment out. So if you are viewing this live, feel free to share, invite people to join. Like I said, I'm live on Facebook and Instagram. Nope, not Instagram because Restream doesn't allow you to stream into Instagram. But I am live on Facebook and YouTube currently. So I'll begin in a couple seconds. I just want to give people time to log on and give me time to share it on social media. Let's see. All right, we are gonna go ahead and get started because I want to make sure that these are like 10 minutes at or around 10 minutes because I actually want people to share them and continue viewing them, and I feel like that's a good amount of time. So before we begin, I want to start with the disclaimer that I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional, nothing of the sort, but I am sharing this information from a place of my own experience, as well as from some research that I have done, or research that has been done by organizations like the national organizations, and I'll share those links and things like that in the description. So to tell you a little bit about me, my name is Javon Bracey. I am the founder and curator of the Purpletuity Project, which is a lupus awareness and advocacy organization. I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I currently reside in Denver, Colorado. I am a minister at a church here, and I also do some contract-based and project-based work with faith-based and community-based organizations. So the Purpletuity Project is a passion project that I launched last spring. And I believe it's important as a Black woman specifically to lend my voice to the chorus of people who are supporting and advocating for people with lupus like me. So this month for Lupus Awareness Month, I decided to do a series called Live at 5, where I'll go live every Monday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, just to engage with the community and to discuss lupus-related topics. So today, I just want to do a general overview and also talk a little bit about my journey. So if you are, hey Alexis, yeah, we are live. If you have any questions as we go along, feel free to drop those in the chat and I'll try to address those as we go along. And of course, if I don't know the answer to something, if I'm not, aware of how to answer the question fully or properly, I'll definitely come back to it next Monday when we're live again. So at this time, I invite you to share, subscribe, like, all that stuff, and let's get started. So before we begin talking about lupus itself, I want to talk a little bit about Lupus Awareness Month. So of course, just like with other awareness months, for various ideals, for various topics, for various public health concerns, the purpose of Lupus Awareness Month is to raise the public consciousness about lupus, which is a disease that's often misunderstood. There's no cure for lupus as of yet. So as we work toward one, it's important that awareness and advocacy and supportive organizations that are doing research continues to happen. Lupus awareness was first formally observed in September of 1977. And then President Jimmy Carter established Lupus Awareness Week during the month of September. Later, it was moved to October and lengthened to a month. And then finally, the Lupus Foundation for America, which is one of those national organizations that I was talking about, was able to get Lupus Awareness Month officially shifted to May. So, no questions yet. So either I'm doing really terribly or really amazing. So what is lupus? Lupus is a chronic and complex autoimmune disease. A chronic disease just means that it is persistent and a long-term condition that requires ongoing medical attention and that impacts or limits daily activities. So the term autoimmune describes a disease caused by antibodies, which are proteins produced by our body's immune system when it detects harmful substances. So if you have the flu or if you, COVID-19 or anything like that, your body produces antibodies to fight it off. So it fights not just infection, but also injuries. Right. So when you twist your ankle and it swells up or what have you, it's a protective measure that your body is doing to protect you. But in lupus patients, the immune system attacks healthy cells and tissue, and the body fails to regulate itself. So on a daily basis, those antibodies are attacking healthy tissue within the body. Hey, Dad. So this causes widespread inflammation in various body parts, tissue, organs, joints, skin, the brain, nervous system, lungs, kidneys, arteries, blood vessels, etc., and can lead to swelling and lots of pain. So that's just a general overview of what lupus is: the body attacking itself, antibodies attacking healthy tissue within the body. Again, if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'll try to get to them as I can. So there are 4 different types of lupus. When people talk about lupus, typically they're talking about SLE lupus, which is systemic lupus erythematosus. And like I said, that's what most people are talking about when they just say lupus. There's also cutaneous lupus, which is primarily on the skin. It can cause rashes and lesions and things of that nature that you can see visibly. There's also drug-induced lupus, which is just as it sounds, something that is caused by certain prescription drugs. And lastly, there's a rare condition called neonatal lupus that affects the infants of women who have lupus. And so the antibodies from the mother act upon the infant in the womb. Again, that one is really rare. And most commonly, when people are talking about lupus, for example, the lupus that I was diagnosed with is SLE lupus. So we'll move on to talk about causes. No one really knows what causes lupus, but lupus and other autoimmune diseases like fibromyalgia do run in families. Experts think that lupus may develop as a result of a response to certain hormones like estrogen or environmental triggers. Environmental triggers are things that happen outside of the body. So weather and things like that can bring on symptoms or make them worse. But lupus is not contagious. You can't catch lupus. You can't give it to somebody else. It's not sexually transmitted. If you have lupus and you cough, someone can't catch it or anything like that. It's not contagious in that way. Anyone can develop lupus, but there are certain groups of people that are at higher risk. So women ages 15 to 44 are at higher risk. And actually, 9 out of 10 people with lupus are women. Also, certain racial or ethnic groups, including people who are African American, Asian American, Hispanic, Latino, Native American, Pacific Islander, are at higher risk of being diagnosed with lupus. And the statistic is something like 2 to 3 more times. Black and brown and women of color are 2 to 3 times more likely to be affected by lupus than white women. And as I said, also people who have family members who have been diagnosed with lupus are also at higher risk. So just a few other important facts. Because lupus affects many parts of the body, it can cause lots of different symptoms. Some people call it the great imitator because there are people who are misdiagnosed with other ailments, with other chronic illnesses, because lupus can take on many different forms and affect really any part of the body. And as a result of that, also, lupus can affect each person differently. So if you have me and 80 other people in a room with lupus, we could all experience a different combination of symptoms and triggers and varying degrees of pain on any particular day. So the other thing is that it makes it hard to diagnose because the symptoms vary widely from person to person. They're triggered by different things. And so on average, it takes 6 years for a person from when they first experience symptoms to be diagnosed. So speaking of diagnosis, I want to tell you a little bit about my story before we wrap up. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I will get to them either today or next Monday when we have our segment. So I like to say that it all started with a pot of gumbo, which is a very New Orleans thing, I guess, to say about anything. But for real, one Thanksgiving, my auntie Rita cooked some gumbo. And I didn't eat any at the house that we were gathered at for that Thanksgiving, but I did take some back to my apartment. And about 2 spoonfuls in, I started to feel my throat close up, like anaphylaxis. So both of my parents are allergic to shellfish. So I was like, okay, I already know what this is, but I made an appointment with an allergist. And I went to an allergist that my primary care physician recommended, but I really didn't vibe with her. So I ended up trying some other doctors out. And I ended up going to a Black woman who is also a Xavier grad. And she was really amazing. She ran all of the same tests that the first doctor ran. And she also did some other testing and told me everything that I was allergic to. Trees, mold, dust, grass, cats, dogs, shellfish, and some more stuff. So we started a medication regimen. And then over the next few months, I would go in pretty regularly so she could do follow-ups. So during those follow-ups, we would just kind of sit down and have conversations about, my overall health and well-being. And she became concerned that there was something else going on in addition to allergies. So unfortunately, just like with many Black families, there are things that run in my family on both sides of my family, on my maternal and paternal sides. And so she just ran a comprehensive set of blood tests and, just wanted to see what was going on. So my ANA titer test came back positive, and she said, Javon, you need to go see a rheumatologist immediately. And I was like, a rheuma what? I had never even heard of that specific specialty. So went back to my primary care physician, got a referral, and talked to the rheumatologist who over the course of several appointments did all kinds of assessments. So he ran even more tests. I think the first time I went in, I gave 12 vials of blood so he could do blood tests. He also did, we just kind of sat and had conversations, and he asked me to recount my health history, especially over the past 5 or so years. This was maybe 2 years after I had graduated from Xavier. So to recount my medical history, especially over the past, 5 or so years, but really throughout my whole life, things that I had been experiencing, any hospitalizations, surgeries, urgent care visits, all that stuff. And what I realized in that conversation was I had been experiencing symptoms for years, at least 3, but maybe more years. And I was treating all of these things individually. and not knowing that they were all connected to the same thing, which was lupus. So I started treatment for lupus as well as rheumatoid arthritis in October of 2016. And I've been receiving treatment consistently and doing what I can to keep it under control since then. So there are other conversations that we'll have as the month goes on about symptoms, treatments, etc. And so I'll go into detail about my specific journey with those things on those days. Like I said, I want to keep this as short as possible so people can actually go back and watch. So if anybody has any questions, like I said, just generally about what lupus is or about my journey to start the Purpletuity Project or my journey with lupus, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can, comment them later on or email them actually to the Purpletuity Project at gmail.com. And I'll get to those questions and answer them to the best of my ability. So I don't see any questions as of yet. So I will, let's see. Yeah, so we'll just wrap it up for today. Didn't want to stay on too long. We have more things to talk about as the month unfolds. So I invite you to stay connected to the Purpletuity Project. We are on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. We also have a website where I have a blog that I host. The website is, really simple. There's also a donate page. And if you make a donation of $20 or more, you'll get a t-shirt like the one that I am wearing that says the Purpletuity Project, our logo. And just a note, a Black-owned company designed my logo, and a Black-owned company also printed the t-shirts. I really believe in supporting the community as much as possible. So yeah, follow the blog, follow us on social media, stay connected, sign up for the newsletter. So I send out emails to people who request that about updates. It hasn't been announced yet, but at the end of the month, we're going to do another yoga session. So that's going to be on the last Saturday of the month. I think that's the 29th. Yeah, we're going to do another yoga session, another live yoga session on Zoom. So you can sign up for that. Of course, it's free of charge to all participants. And you don't have to have lupus or be connected to someone with lupus other than me, I guess, to participate. So yeah, if there are no other questions, we can end this, and definitely stay connected. Let me know what you thought about this video. Again, if you're on Facebook, it's also on YouTube, and you can share it that way. Or if you're on YouTube, you can share it via Facebook. And yeah, thank you, Alexis. This was great. And I'll be back next Monday, same time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, same places, YouTube and Facebook. And in the meantime, in between time, if you need anything or have any questions, let me know. Hey, Mom. My dad's here too. Got to give them a shout out. All right. Well, I'm going to end it now. Stay connected and be blessed and have a great week. Bye.